أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, we will continue from the 10th word. And as usual, let's start with a very short reminder about the 10th word, what it is about, and who wants to take the honor of, giving us a short summary of the 10th word, what it is about, why we are studying it, and what kind of approach we are following when we study it. It's very simple, right? I'm not talking about, any specifics of any text that we study. So it's just in general what it is about. I'm sure this is the 19th week since we started the 10th word. So I'm sure you at least know what it is about. Let's start from there.
I believe the 10th word is about resurrection.
Alhamdulillah.
And understanding resurrection through the different names of God.
And how do we study these different names? By opening
through the world around us and our own experiences.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So we look at the experiences and the world around us and see the names there, study them, and then through them we come up with some understanding of the hereafter, the resurrection. Alhamdulillah.
Indeed.
And the last question is, why do we study it? Why do we study the 10th word? I mean, one reason, of course, is because we're studying the book in sequential order, maybe.
Yeah,
and it's time to read the 10th word.
That is,
but that would be a mistake because as you would remember,
backwards, yeah.
Yes,
we
started 10th word after, as Brother Abdurrahman last week pointed out, or maybe 2 weeks ago, was not here with us now. He's just hiding in online place. That before the 10th word, we've been studying 28 word, and now we went back to 10th word. So there's this historical reason, but beyond that, let's assume you find out yourself studying 10th words. So how would you try to benefit from it? So that's the question. Let's forget about the 10th word. Why would you study anything about hereafter and resurrection? Is it because you are a Muslim, you have to study, or what is the point? Why would you study resurrection hereafter?
I think because death itself is something that we are faced with constantly. I mean, we're currently in the winter month, and so all the trees have lost their leaves, the plants are dead, and the soil is just barren. And so, in the face of death, how do we react to that or understand that?
Yep. We have extra space here. Oh, that's a great point. Yes, we face death all the time, and we will face our ultimate death as well. And so the death is extremely relevant to all of us, especially for some of us. Is that relevant to you, Brother Adam? When we talk about that, do you take it as these old people, as they get older and older, they have to talk about that because it's coming for them? Do you take it that way? No? Why?
Because anyone could die at any time.
Anyone, yes, can die anytime. That's a great point. Alhamdulillah. And this is, it sounds, as a religious statement, but it is, even if you are a secular person, it's true, right? There's no denial there. Everybody, the people at various ages, they die all the time. So the death is near for all of us. That's one thing. Maybe we can also talk about, so the resurrection is relevant because, the death as a ultimate end, like it's like the darkness. If we take it that way, the life is unbearable. So our humanity, our minds cannot accept it. So we are one reason, we are studying resurrection. We can also talk about maybe hereafter, as author talk about. Hatice was dead for a few seconds and then she's back. So that's a resurrection, alhamdulillah. So anyway, so the hereafter in our life again, right? Let's talk about the hereafter, what it means to you hereafter. You too, Zarin. I mean, just because they have the crowd.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that it's proving the existence of the hereafter is important because that would dictate how we lead our lives. Now, since there is an end, that means if there's something that comes after, that means our lives would have to have a purpose and like working towards whatever comes after. So I think that's important to, give our lives meaning. And depending on the results of this life, that would sort of dictate, the place in the hereafter, sort of based on what we might observe and experience.
That's a great point. Like our lives must be shaped by the outcome. So, for instance, your attitude in school, right, will change based on your understanding of what will happen after the school, what is coming next, or what is the outcome of this attitude, right? If you think the life after school is so easy, relaxed, just chilling out, then you will do the same in the school as well. You wouldn't work hard. But if you think that after school, there will be some type of examination, like the life will test you, let's put it that way. That you have to do this, you have to find a job, you have to, start a family and so on and so forth. Then your attitude within the school in the moment will change. So understanding hereafter in its, again, the ultimate sense, we can talk about different ways of understanding hereafter. But in its ultimate sense, understanding hereafter as what happens after I die, understanding it's like putting a purpose, attaching a purpose to your life. Otherwise, if there's nothing, after the school, it's just empty, blank, then there's no point of attending this school. Like, why should I waste my time in the school? You would say, no, I will just go to the beach, the New Jersey shore, chill out there. I'm just, putting our New Jersey friends on spot. Anyway, like your attitude will change, of course. So it's not only also about the responsibilities, right? It's about, again, attaching a meaning to your life. Whether there will be a trial or not, this meaning part, I guess, is even more important. What is the outcome? What is the fruit of my life? And inshallah, in this 10th word, we will talk about that a lot.
Just imagine a case. So I'm going to give an example. Imagine you were born in the prison. Like your parents were also in the prison, so you were born in prison. And everybody in that prison is in that death row. So it's a special prison, and everybody in that prison is in death row. And you were born in there. Because of that, you're also in the death row, and eventually you are going to die. And everybody is being hanged one day in there. So whomever is in that prison is getting hanged, so you're going to get hanged as well sooner or later. What sort of a psychology would you be in such an environment? You would go nuts, because you're being kept in there to be hanged eventually. So getting hanged is part of everybody's conversation. And it's not clear when they're going to hang you. This is the fun part of being in that prison. Like they, as if randomly pick people to get hanged. So this is the main conversation in the entire prison. Who is going to get hanged yesterday, today, tomorrow? Somebody's getting hanged. And you are in there. So death is not really a thing to be eventually thought about. It's part of everybody's worry, as if you are being kept in here to get hanged. It seems like the fruit of your life is getting hanged. And it's even, to make things even more torturous, it's a random, sort of random, or not within an order. It's a death row, but without order. So in this case, understanding the death row, hanging and everything also is going to make your moment meaningful. It's not only solving a problem that's going to come eventually, because it is as if the biggest thing in there, solving this would solve the prison, solve the moment, everything is going to change. Unless I solve that problem, the whole thing is torturous. Every moment is torturous.
It doesn't matter, whether your chairs are more comfortable than others or not.
Yeah, as if they just they're going to hang me, and then they say, "Oh, my rope is going to be made up out of silk or gold." Like, are you kidding me? So,
but this is our reality, right? I mean, this sounds like let's say, a science fiction or this dystopian movie, but this is our life. We will die eventually. Everybody will die. We are kept in this prison. You cannot escape the earth, at least until our hero, Mr. Musk, solves the interstellar travel. Anyway, you cannot escape the prison. You will die, and it's random. And you just spending your time, the 60 years, which flies like nothing. Believe me, it does. Oh yeah, I mean, the half of it. For thinking about myself, like if I take it as the average life expectancy, I already put the bigger portion behind me. So what is left is, the smaller portion. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, why should I waste my life trying to do all these stupid things that the people expect me to do? So when you look at your life from such a perspective, it's like a real misery. Unless, as Yusuf said, somebody comes and tells you that this termination point, you think the death row or your grave, it's not actually a termination point. Your life here was like a blink of an eye, and it was supposed to be that way. And it's just a small training before the actual life. And if somebody comes with such a message, so I'm not talking whether this message is true or not right now, but it has the, such a relevance to me that I have to listen it. So why do we study resurrection? Because we need it more than anything. So somebody comes and tells me that, oh, Birkan, you thought you have only 20 more years, which is half of what you... So thinking that way first time, by the way, made me so dark. Like, so I have only half of what I, left behind, in average, let's say.
So you are 40?
I have to confess, yeah. So that's really interesting way of thinking it. So anyway, but somebody comes and tell me, Vikan, don't worry, let me explain the fruit of your life, and you will be even running towards it. So it has such a high relevance. So please don't take it as just a Muslim matter and a matter of Islam. The resurrection hereafter, it's a matter of humanity. It's the most important matter of humanity, maybe. So that's the reason the first, revelation, the group of the revelation, always talked about hereafter. Because the audience needed it desperately. So keep this in mind, let's all of us, first and foremost myself. When we talk to people, that's the starting point, because we will all die. I mean, it's like a cliche. That's another thing. Like religious people always talk about death. But it's also interesting that only religious people talk about death. And in general as well. Again. So I shouldn't, please don't tell us that, you have some colleagues in your department who's studying that and so on, but not believers. I'm sure there are some exceptions. But in general, people don't talk about that because the answer is already, obvious for most of us, that we will die and there's nothing more. Okay, we talked a lot. So we should start with the 10th word. It's a long read. So we need someone strong. We need someone with a beautiful voice. We need someone we miss. Someone bringing the chill of Utah. So how about Mohammed Shah? Would you like to read it for us? And Yusuf, you can tell us where to stop if you think we can split it.
10th truth, the gate of wisdom, grace, mercy, and justice, the manifestation of the names of all wise, generous, just, and merciful. Is it at all possible that the glorious possessor of all dominion in this impermanent hospice of the world, in this transient place of testing, in this unstable showplace of the earth, so manifest a wisdom, is so evident a grace, so overwhelming a justice, so comprehensive a mercy? Is it at all possible that in his realm, in the worlds of the outer and inner dimensions of things, there should not exist permanent abodes with eternal inhabitants, everlasting stations with immortal residents, and that as a result, all the truths of wisdom, grace, mercy, and justice that we now see should decline into nothingness? Again, is it at all possible that all-wise being should choose man among all his creation to receive direct and universal address from him, should make him a comprehensive mirror to himself, should permit him to taste, weigh, and become acquainted with all the contents of his treasuries of mercy, should make himself known to him with all his names, should love him and make himself beloved of him, that he should do all this and then fail to dispatch wretched man to that eternal realm, to invite him to that abode of permanent bliss and make him happy there? Is it at all reasonable that he should impose on every being, even the seed, a task as heavy as a tree, mount in its instances of his wisdom as numerous as the flowers, and beneficial aspects as numerous as the fruits, but assign to that task, to those instances of his wisdom and those beneficial aspects, a purpose pertaining only to this world, one as small as a seed, that he should make that purpose nothing more than the life of this world, something less valuable than a grain of mustard seed, that he should not make of beings seeds for the world of meaning and tillage for the realm of the hereafter, for them to yield their truth and worthy results, that he should permit such significant alterations to remain without purpose, to be empty and vain, that he should not turn their faces towards the world of meaning and the hereafter, so that they might there reveal their true purposes and fitting results. Again, is it at all possible that by thus causing things to controvert their own nature, he should present his own veracious names, all wise, generous, just, merciful, as being characterized by their opposites? God forbid that he should deny the true essences of all those beings that indicate his wisdom and generosity, his justice and mercy, that he should reject the testimony of all creatures, that he should negate the indications made by all things. Can intelligence at all accept that God should impose on man and his senses duties as numerous as the hair on his head, but give him no more than an earthly reward, something no more valuable than a hair? That he should act meaninglessly in a fashion contrary to his true justice and opposed to his true wisdom? Again, is it at all possible that God, who proves and shows himself to be a possessor of absolute wisdom, by attaching to every animate being, or even to every member like the tongue, indeed to every creature, instances of his wisdom and sources of benefit as numerous as the results and the fruits he has attached to a tree? Is it at all possible that he should fail to bestow of himself the greatest of all instances of his wisdom, the most significant of all sources of benefit, the most necessary of all results, that which makes his wisdom into wisdom, his blessings into blessings, his mercy into mercy, the source and aim of all his wisdom, bounty, mercy, and beneficence, eternity, the meeting with him in the hereafter, and everlasting bliss? Were he to abandon these, he would plunge all of his doings unto utter pointlessness and cause himself to resemble a being who constructed a palace, each stone of which contained thousands of designs, in each corner of which thousands of adornments were to be found, and in each part of which thousands of precious household instruments and tools were provided, but failed to build a roof over it, so that everything rotted and was needlessly destroyed. No, by no means can this be true. From absolute goodness comes forth goodness, and from the possessor of absolute beauty comes forth beauty. So too nothing devoid of purpose can emerge from the possessor of absolute wisdom. Whoever in his imagination embarks on the ship of history and sets sail for the past will see dead stages, places, gatherings, and worlds as numerous as the years, and each like the stopping place that is the world, the field of trial and gathering of creation that we now see. In form and quality, they are different from each other, but they resemble each other with respect to their orderliness, their wondrousness, and the fashion in which they display the power and wisdom of the Maker. In those impermanent stopping places, those transient fields, those fleeting gatherings, he will also see the orderly workings of so manifest a wisdom, the indications of so evident a beneficence, the signs of so imperious a justice, the fruits of so comprehensive a mercy, that he will know of a certainty, unless totally devoid of perception, that a more perfect wisdom, that which he beholds is inconceivable, that a beneficence more beauteous than the signs of which he observes is impossible, that a justice more glorious than that the indications of which he sees cannot exist, and a mercy more comprehensive than that the fruits of which he sees is unimaginable. If, to suppose the impossible, there were no permanent abodes, lofty mansions, everlasting stations, and eternal abodes, with their eternal residence, God's joyous servants in the realm of that eternal monarch who disposes all affairs and who constantly is changing the hospice and its inmates, then it would be necessary to reject the true essence of wisdom, justice, beneficence, and compassion, those four powerful and universal spiritual elements that are like light, air, water, and earth, and to deny their existence, even though they are as apparent as that of external elements. For it is plain that this impermanent world and its contents cannot be complete manifestation of their true essences. If there is no other place somewhere else where they can be manifested fully, it then becomes necessary, with a lunacy like that of the man who denies the existence of the sun, even though he sees its light filling the day, to deny the wisdom that we can see in everything in front of our eyes, to deny the beneficence that we can observe in our own souls and in most other things, to deny the justice and to deny the justice, the signs of which appear so strongly, and to deny the compassion we see everywhere in operation. It follows in turn that we must regard as a foolish prankster, a treacherous tyrant, the one from whom proceed all the wise processes, the generous deeds and the merciful gifts we perceive in the universe. God forbid that this should be so. It is a totally impossible reversal of the truth. Even the foolish sophists who deny the existence of everything, and even that of their own selves, would not readily contemplate such a proposition. So the footnote,
It's,
do you want me to read
about the signs, the justice, the signs of which appear so strongly.
Okay, should I just read the footnote? You want me to read the sentence again? Okay. There are two varieties of justice, one affirmative and the other negative. The positive variety consists in giving the deserving his right. This form of justice exists throughout the world in the most obvious fashion, because as proven in the third truth, it observably bestows, in accordance with special balances and particular criteria, all the objects of desire requested by everything from its glorious creator, with the tongue of innate capacity, the language of natural need, the speech of necessity, and all the requirements of life and existence. This variety of justice is then as certain as life and existence itself. The other variety of justice, the negative, consists in chastising the unjust. It gives wrongdoers their due by way of requital and punishment. This type of justice is not fully manifest in this world, even though there are countless signs and indications that permit us to sense its true nature. For example, all the chastising blows and punitive lashes that have descended on all rebellious peoples from Ad and Thamud to those of the present age show definitely that an exalted justice dominates the world. Should I read the rest of it? Or in short? Okay. In short, considering the utter disparity between, on the one hand, the state of affairs which we see together with the universal fusions of life and the swift separations of death, the imposing gatherings and the rapid dispersions, the magnificent revolutions and the great manifestations, and on the other hand, the petty fruits we see briefly attained in this transient world, the temporary and insignificant purposes of beings that pertain to this world, we conclude that the non-existence of the hereafter would mean attaching to a little stone wise purposes as great as a mountain, and to a great mountain a purpose as petty as a small stone. No intelligence or wisdom can find this acceptable. In other words, this lack of proportion between beings and these matters on the one hand, and their purposes pertaining to this world on the other, demonstrate with certainty that all beings have their faces turned to the world of meaning. It is there that they will yield their appropriate fruits, and their eyes are fixed on the sacred names. Their ultimate aims pertain to that world alone. While their substance is hidden beneath the soil of this world, their flowers will unfold in the world of similitudes. Man sows and is sown in this world in accordance with his capacity The harvest is gathered in the hereafter. If you look at the aspect of things that is turned towards the divine names and the hereafter, you will see that each seed, a miracle of power, has an aim as vast as a tree. Each flower, which is like a word of divine wisdom, has meanings as numerous as the flowers on a tree. And each fruit, a wonder of God's workmanship, and a poem dictated by his mercy, has wise purposes as numerous as the fruits of a tree. As for the fruit serving us as a sustenance, it is merely one out of the many thousand wise purposes. It fulfills its purpose, expresses its meanings, and dies being buried in our stomach. A footnote there. If it be asked, why do your parables consist chiefly of flowers, seeds, and fruits? Our answer is that they are the most wondrous, remarkable, and delicate of the miracles of God's power. Moreover, since naturalists, philosophers, and the people of misguidance have been unable to read the subtle script written upon them by the pen of destiny and power, they have choked on them and fallen into the swamp of nature. Since these transient beings yield eternal fruits in another place, leave their permanent forms of themselves, and express their everlasting meanings, since they engage in ceaseless glorification of the Maker, and since man becomes man by perceiving these aspects of things that are oriented to the hereafter, thus finding his way to eternity by means of the transient. Since all of this is true, there must be some other purpose for all these beings that are cast around between life and death, that are first gathered and then dispersed. There is no error in this comparison. The above mentioned state of affairs resembles circumstances formed and arranged by way of imitation and representation. Brief gatherings and dispersions are arranged at great expense merely for the sake of taking pictures that can thereafter be shown in the cinema. So too, one of the reasons for our passage through individual and social life in this life for a brief time is to enable pictures to be taken and images formed, to enable the result of our deeds to be registered and recorded for display on a day of accounting, for being shown at a vast gathering, and to yield the fruit of supreme happiness. The noble saying of the Prophet ﷺ, "This world is the tillage for the hereafter," indicates this meaning. Since the world exists, and within this world, wisdom, beneficence, compassion, and justice also exist, with their numerous evidence of a certainty, the hereafter also exists, just as surely as does this world. Since one aspect of everything in this world is turned to that world and is proceeding toward it, to deny that world would be denying this world with all it contains. Just as the allotted hour and the grave await man, so too do paradise and hell, anxiously watching for his arrival.
We can stop here. Okay, let's stop here. You don't have to come.
Okay, I was running out of breath.
Jazakallah khair. Yeah, well, you don't have to continue. Let's.
I don't have to finish the book.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, that was a good read. Now you can leave. You.
I start my prayer. I can go back to you. Alhamdulillah.
So that's what happens when you don't join us for a while.
It was brutal.
Same for you. Wait for your turn.
I'm not a regular.
Okay, let's go to the beginning and ask the question. What was the first thing? I'm trying to find the beginning. Sorry, yeah. What was the first thing or one thing that stayed with you? Oh, Adam, you can come here, by the way, if you like. Come close to me. Yeah. So, yeah, what is one thing? What is one thing that stayed with you Adam, did you get anything from the text? You can be honest. You can say that, it was a really hard read. I didn't understand even just one word. It won't be your mistake. Don't worry. It will be his mistake that, reading too fast or maybe too slow, not making, the tonation proper.
I think we should let the guest speak first.
Okay.
Mashallah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
Such a politician. Anything stay with you? Let's say again. Okay. So then we have to go back to our, someone that we can always rely. Zeren.
Sure.
Yes, sorry.
Come get closer to me so that Dr. Rahman can sit there.
I guess one thing that stayed with me was sort of like the emphasis on the value of this realm compared to the value of an eternal realm. So there were several places where this life is like compared to something that's less valuable than a grain of mustard seed. And that comparison really stuck with me because we often take this life to be way more valuable than it actually is, when the real value is in the hereafter. And that's where the true aspects of all the manifestations in this world are actually, that's where they're all actually present in their truest forms. So it's really kind of amazing to me how much we place so much value and just focusing on this life and in and of itself when it's not actually worth almost nothing compared to the hereafter.
Jazakallah. Well, I have some comments there. But before that, anybody else want to add anything? Like you, maybe our reader?
Sure, I mean, something that stood out to me, just kind of related to the title, is looking at the tributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and just pointing out that it's beyond his mercy, his greatness, his wisdom to create something that is so meaningless, so small in purpose. And so that connection between like knowing him is how you know this life, and you know this the purpose of this life. So his greatness kind of tells you about it helps you learn about what this life is and understand what you're doing in this life.
Jazakallah.
Sure. So, I mean, towards the end, how he mentioned the hadith about Prophet said this world is a tillage or a farmland for hereafter. A man, he can build forever, but he knows he's gonna die one day, so all his efforts can't go to waste if he's not building towards the hereafter. So, a farmer can go to the farmland and plant random seeds that will never benefit him or anybody else, random plants or whatever. Even if it looks beautiful, if it doesn't benefit anybody else, it's useless. So if he uses that land purposefully towards a goal that's gonna, I guess, feed the people, feed the hungry, or provide for his family and whatnot, it will benefit him, his community and whatnot. So if he's building, but nothing is being produced that's for a purpose, it's kind of like useless. So the same thing, since we have a short life in this dunya, if we don't basically make the purpose to focus towards the akhirah in whatever we do, when in our sincerity or whatever actions we're doing, it's going to go to waste. you know. So
Jazakallah khair.
yeah.
Yusuf, you want to add something? Let's open the
Yeah, just-
door and let people suffocate.
Like
Can I open up the window?
Oh, sure.
imagine we have
Is your thermostat too high?
Oh, no, it's just because for circulation, I don't mind about the window. It's your choice.
so like the as if you are in a, let's say, 5-year, 4-year, 5-year program. You study very hard. It's a super challenging program. And the goal is that at the end of 5 years, you're going to join the graduation ceremony. And after the ceremony, you're going to have a bullet in your head. I mean, people will applaud you a lot during that, like for 3 seconds and whatnot, because you're going to be walking on the stage and you're going to be super satisfied for that 3 seconds. So you would say, well, it doesn't make any sense, like putting that much effort, 5 years of effort to walk on the stage for 3 seconds. It's a mismatch. Like we put a lot of effort. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm going to get some joy. I mean, it's no denial there. For 3 seconds, you're going to be enjoying this thrill for a few seconds. But it's such a big mismatch between how much is invested versus what comes out of it. So author is attracting our attention to this sort of disparities in this life. So much investment is being done everywhere on everything, including human. And then human dies. Like there's a joy here and there. I mean, if you think about your life, how much of it you enjoy, how much of it is a hardship, boredom, and whatnot. So there is somewhat of a joy, but it's a momentary joy here and there, and it passes away. And then eventually you get a hole in your head or something, like you die and they put you into a dirt. It's a super mismatch between this much effort, and so it doesn't make any sense. But on one hand, observing all those investments tells us something about the investor, but the waste at the end is a huge contradiction, which says, well, the investor must have been a lunatic. But so far, I said that the investor is so wise, so just, so kind and everything. And then comes a point that he allows this waste. So it doesn't make any sense. There's something very wrong going on in here. If this is an ultimate death at the end, it doesn't make any sense. So this comparison of, on one hand, there is this much wisdom, justice, all those names are being manifested. On the other hand, what comes out is a total waste. This is why the most striking thing for me here was, it says, if there's not going to be an eternal life, then we need to say that, I mean, he used the words carefully. But he says, it follows in turn that we must regard as a foolish prankster, a treacherous tyrant, the one from whom proceed all the wise processes, the generous deeds and the merciful gifts we perceive in the universe. In the first place, we thought, oh, such justice, so mercy, so everything. If there's no afterlife, then he is the biggest tyrant. He's the most treacherous prankster, making fun of me. He just fed me to eventually destroy me. This is what it turns out. So would you be able to accept or swallow such a thing? Is, I think, what this...
The argument for atheism.
Yeah. So does it make sense? Like seeing all these things, all these investment is made, and then you need to say in the first place, it must not have been wisdom. But it is wisdom. So this is where the author is putting us. Then you need to deny yourself. You need to say that, oh, this is not wisdom. Let's say you observe DNA, you should say, oh, there's no wisdom in there. You observe some beauty in life, some mercy in life, you should say, oh, no, there's no mercy. you see a mother-child relationship, or it's not mercy, you have to say.
It also doesn't match the signs. It maybe doesn't match the signs that you see within this world as well. So maybe extending your metaphor of like the graduation ceremony, if after you get on stage, you go with your family, everybody takes you to a room and they surprise you. They bring out a cake, and it's all set up with your name, your photos, all this stuff, and that becomes the place where they ultimately take your life. It's like all these signs are showing you that there is wisdom. All these signs are showing you that there are these like these characteristics of Allah, essentially. So you're expecting justice, you're expecting generosity, but instead you receive a very like unjust treatment that doesn't match up with what you're seeing. So that mismatch is like that's the ultimate prank. Is why were you being set up to expect something that indicates all these characteristics, but instead you were given something that was so far from it.
Okay, you want to say something other than just turning on my mic? Okay. So yeah, it's about then what we see here. If we see wisdom, justice, or compassion, the mercy here, and then our let's say the assumption is against to what we see, then we can easily say that my assumption must be wrong or something missing there. So the first a few part of the text is about the value and also the meaning, the fruits, what things points to. As Zerin mentioned. So there's one thing I want to open up for discussion. So when we say, so author says, everything in this world shows things are very valuable, right? They have a lot of, let's say, the potentiality, the capacity, and so on and so forth. But we look at the world and the fruit is so tiny. The value you can assign is so small. And author says it doesn't make sense. And Zerin, for instance, she preferred to take it in a comparative way. She said, the value of this world is too small compared to the value of the hereafter, if I'm properly paraphrasing what you said. So I want to open up this part to discussion. So such a comparison makes sense only if you have any sense of value of hereafter. So without such an assumption or without such an experience, this comparison wouldn't hold. So what do we mean when we say this word is valueless or its value is so small? If this is the only word that we have, then it's the highest value, maybe. So if, for instance, some of you, except maybe Yusuf, wouldn't remember, but before these, fancy phones, there were dumb phones that you can only make a call or send a message. Even before that, there was phones, you wouldn't believe, that you can only make calls, not even taxing. So when you have such a phone, you would say, okay, it has a lot of value because you've never seen such a phone. But when compared to that one, it doesn't have much value. But the people of that age, it wouldn't make sense saying that, you know, the phone you are holding right now, it doesn't have value or it has a little value because they never seen this phone. So in the same way, when we say that this word doesn't have value or have a little value, what do we mean? And when I say what do we mean, I'm asking in a sense that what do we mean within this word? I never seen hereafter. There's some descriptions. There are some expectations. But what do we mean? So that's the question.
What do we mean is less in value?
Yes. Less value compared to what? Or why it has little value?
I guess, I mean, you know, the point I made, like, if you're building for this world, it won't benefit you because you're going to leave everything behind. But if you're building for the afterlife, you know, that's the only thing you transfer to the afterlife. So that's why this world is little value, because.
So if you don't mind, I will interrupt you. So we are studying, you know, all these things to understand the hereafter.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not assume for a moment. I know that, you know, we have this understanding of the hereafter already. But for a moment, let's assume we don't have enough understanding of the hereafter. Let's pretend. For some of us, it won't be a pretension. What is the noun form of pretend?
Pretentious.
Yeah. It's not pretending. It will be the reality. We don't have much understanding of the hereafter for some of us. But for you, for others, let's pretend for a moment that we don't have much understanding of the hereafter. Just look at the word itself only. And you yourself. So do you feel that this world that you are living in has only little value? Do you feel it? Do you experience it?
You can't really compare with anything else because that's the only life you have.
So maybe it's not that valueless. And you can say that is the best I have, and which is great. You can say, maybe.
Mm.
I mean, if this is the case, if you can say that and live without any trouble, then most of the arguments, not all of them, but some of the, let's say, arguments in this text, you know, not valid much. Again, not all of them. So they all support each other. There are different arguments, but only let's look at one type of argument. So if we can say that this is the best I have, and it makes great sense to me, I can live with it. So I don't have any complaint. Can we say that?
I mean, I would say aside from material things, there are things that can fulfill you, right? And those are definitely valuable. I don't know. Family, yeah, family.
Family, you have family here.
I do have some family.
Yeah.
Does it satisfy you?
Yeah, I guess he does. Some other some other ones might be a pain in my butt, but you know, he's okay.
I apologize. So you have family. Like if you, with this, you know, I always find this immaterial argument a little bit shaky.
A little bit.
Because, you know, every time we talk about immaterial, what we have in mind is actually not much religious either.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the love, family, friendship. You have all of these in this world.
Exactly. But
so then maybe this world is kind of complete in itself. Is that so?
there's elements of value in it. You know, you can't say it's valueless.
Yeah, sure. It has. The author doesn't say, you know, it's valued. The author says it's like it's valued like a grain of mustard seed.
Yeah.
And what is the reference point? That's my
Sure.
question. If he's using this, the reference point as, Quran describes such an hereafter compared to that, then the text is not doing its due, like it's not doing its job. Because text here is, the aim is to convince you about the hereafter.
Okay, so I mean, even whatever we value, right, we will be parted with it. As much as you value your relationships with your family and other things that you find fulfillment, you will be parted with it. So it might be even worse in some sort of a balance once you lose it, or if you are parted with it. It might be worse than never having had that thing in the first place, right? Because you never experienced the joy of possessing it.
Yep, just like one. Oh, you please continue. Any other comments? Zarin has some trouble. Please, let's share her troubles, if you don't mind.
I think one way to sort of build the reference point of the hereafter is kind of to like examine sort of the nature of humans. And I think a key part of that is the fact that we have like certain needs and desires that if we attain something, there's always another thing after it that we have to attain. And that there's always something like more that we want more out of life, for example. Like I guess I can't really say that about everyone, but I think it's a general pattern in humans. Otherwise, what would have been the cause of making all these like big cities and people having all this wealth and trying to gain more wealth and like other things? So I think that the fact that we like have this like need to have more and more kind of points to the fact that there isn't enough in this life to like completely satisfy us. And that points to there being a need for an afterlife, that there are certain conditions that are laid forth to achieve that. So I think we can experience sort of the necessity of an afterlife based on feelings, desires, needs that we experience here.
So one example comes to my mind. It's a very hypothetical example. There's no instance of reality in it, which is, let's assume we're living in a society where we say, the woman can do only certain type of things and they're not allowed to do any other thing. Let's say, we say that, okay, you have to, stay in your kitchen and you cannot do anything else. Hypothetically speaking, it's far from reality. And, there is no exception, let's assume. They never see a woman, doing something other than what they are assigned to do. So in such a scenario, would we expect that, these people say that, no, this is not right. There must be something beyond that for me, right? Although they never seen, let's say, a woman who is doing other things. So to me, it feels like they would know the truth, that there must be something beyond by just looking at themselves. They would say, I have all these faculties. What are you talking about? What kitchen? I mean, there is one part, like a mustard grain of me, that's good for that. But what about the rest? All these infinite different dimensions I have. Or, another hypothetical situation, again, no reality. Let's assume in a society, certain people, due to their skin color. I'm just making,
So
exactly.
Can I give less controversial?
Let me finish.
Okay.
We say, you have such a skin color and that's the only thing you can do. I think they would be able, in this hypothetical situation, they would be able to say that it doesn't make sense. Just by looking at themselves. They don't need, let's say, an exceptional example. Or they don't need something they've never seen to compare. The comparison is already in you. That what you are given, the potentialities, what you can reach, what you can become, what you ask for, it's all there to compare. And then what this world can give you, what it does give you. I guess this comparison would already give you the value. And you would say, going back to our real world, you would say, this world has little value. Like a mustard seed. And how I say that? By looking at myself. Or by looking at the seeds, as author says. Just look at the flowers. The potentialities that carry. The messages that they announce. The state. Listen to them, and you will make the comparison. And the comparison between what they say about themselves, a seed would tell you that it has all the potentiality of becoming a tree. On the other hand, metaphorically speaking, the material science would tell you that no, it's just a seed. It has such a weight, such a composition. It has that amount of, the nitrogen atoms, that amount of whatever atoms, and that's all what you have here. Or for a human being, you are just another animal with a little bit, more increased capacity to think, to speak maybe, and so on. It's all relative to the animals, they would say. But when you look at yourself, you say, what you are describing, yes, it's me, but it's only like a tiny seed part of me. The rest, where is it? You would ask. And let's go with your less controversial example.
I was just going to say, if there was a car, which was very nice, has a lot of buttons and everything.
Hypothetically speaking, a green one.
Yeah.
Long, yeah.
And then, it can go from 0 to 100 miles in 2.2 seconds and whatnot. So a supercar. And you're using it for buying stuff from Aldi once a week. Or making Uber. So you would say, well, this car it looks like it's for something more than just going to Aldi. So this such a setup must be for something more. So, but looking at human and what's the outcome of human in this life is pretty much like this. But there's again this mismatch.
There's a comment by Suhail. He says the issue is when I attach my need for eternity to the transient world. Okay, going back to, I guess, what Zerrin said, he said the problem starts when I try to attach my need for eternity to this world and try to find the answer from there. That the last part, it was my word, so I apologize to him. And he continues, rather I thank the world for its value in uncovering my eternal needs for his names. Rather, I thank the world. So he gives an alternative now. You can, interact with the world, and its value will be from to the extent you know about his names through the value. So the word becomes valuable when it becomes a training space, a classroom where you learn about his beautiful names, all of which, start satisfying all your different dimensions, your faculties. So let me read a short paragraph in the text that we read. Again, is it at all possible that all wise beings should choose men among all his creation to receive direct and universal address from him? So he says the Creator chooses human among all his creation to receive direct and universal address from him, should make him a comprehensive mirror to himself, should permit him to taste, weigh, and become acquainted with all the contents of his treasuries of mercy, should make himself known to him with all his names, should love him, make himself beloved of him, that he should do all these and then fail to dispatch wretched men to that eternal realm, to invite him to that abode of permanent bliss and make him happy there. And what I understand from here is that if you look at yourself as a human being, not as a bashar, as described in Quran, but as insan, as insan, when you look at yourself as insan, as a human, as Quran describes, as author refers to a human, then you will realize that all the values that you are carrying with you, such a valuable creature you are, such an artwork you are, the love, towards you, and the love, what is the word? Radiating from you. He can read my mind, even, with such a particular word, alhamdulillah. So, yeah, you will realize, you will see all these. And then when somebody comes and tell you that, oh, you are such a, animal, a bashar, and you would say, what are you talking about? Like, it doesn't fit the bill. You have such a car, all these engine, and you want me use it to go to a supermarket and that's all? It doesn't, make sense.
Car is a tool.
Sorry?
Car is a tool. Its purpose is to take you to where you want to go.
Yeah, okay.
No matter the end.
I mean, you can say the same thing with the phone, right? The phone is to make you connect with other people, but your phone makes, does a lot more.
I need to navigate to get to.
Okay, any comments so far? So we're talking about the value, meaning, and so on. So let's continue with our beloved friend. Turn on press the power button once. Yes.
I know you mentioned this is earlier in the discussion, maybe close to the beginning, you said, I have my life, I've entered like the second half of my life, even, let's say I feel that way. Even I. It's
such a pious.
Yeah. Where it's like, oh, those old days are gone. I'm never going to live them again. You feel that pain. So there's this relevance. You do kind of feel that relevance of what's after death. However, you don't usually think about it too often. Like, I'm thinking, what is right now? If you told me resurrect, like when I live my life, I don't think about what's going to happen after I die. Very rarely. It comes up every now and then, but it's rare. and I feel sad for a bit. Maybe it's like, oh, it's gone or something, nostalgic. But in my day-to-day life, I don't necessarily think about it much. So I'm like, is it so pivotal in my life that I need to believe in life after death, or else God's creation will become meaningless? Because that's what he's saying. He's saying if there is no resurrection, if there is no life after death, then everything is frivolous, it's pointless. He playing a prank on you, basically. At that level, I'm like, whoa, is it really like that? Because I live day to day, and for me to be able to live satisfactorily, to be able to enjoy life day to day, I need to still look for meaning without even thinking of, let's say, life after death, or like after I die, what's going to happen. I mean, it hasn't happened to me. It's somewhere in the future, so I can kind of ignore it. For me, like today, if I stub my toe or something happens to my car, or I feel pressure at work, like these are the very real problems I'm dealing with that I am trying to solve. That's like where my happiness lies. And in these day-to-day problems, if I ignore a creator, or if I ignore a Lord who is sustaining me or looking after me, who I know isn't just randomly letting things happen, it becomes terrible for me. Yeah, it becomes like, okay, everything is pointless. Nothing makes sense. It's all, stupid. I could say it's all stupid. So day to day, I really find that I need that interactivity, or I need that relationship to be able to function. So I'm thinking, okay, how is this going to happen when I do get close to experiencing that final death, let's say? I guess it'll start becoming a lot more of a real day-to-day problem for me. And I think, why would I then I would need to still look for the meaning of it to be able to function. And I'm like, whoever up until this point kind of helped me function, I feel like there's also a problem that they would help me function with, or like help me find the answer of. Like, why should it now, like, I hit some life, I finally get buried, why should it now stop? So I feel like, as he says in the text, if you see those beautiful names, if you see him sustaining, if you see him, if you see any of those names daily, it almost doesn't become a question anymore. If the names will just stop. So it's like very important about reading at the moment, right now, rather than saying, okay, 60 years later, I will need God to step in and resurrect me, or something like that.
If anyone wants to continue from there. Oh, it's off. Oh, yeah.
So I think if death was part of my life, then we would keep feeling that every moment. So since we ignore death, or since we don't think about it, or we are forgetful, this is how we can enjoy life. This is the only way you think you can enjoy life, right? This forgetfulness is, in a sense, mercy of the Creator. In a sense, it's our curse, but in a sense, it's mercy, because if we were not able to forget death, plus think that there's no afterlife, life would truly be a hell. Like, if you think that you are being like hanged or terminated every moment, you wouldn't enjoy anything at all. Because my experience for that was, it happens a lot, but maybe a more cartoonish example for that one was when I was playing some strategy game back in the middle school days. So, no, Settlers 2. So when I click on save, it was saving with how many hours it was played. So I was playing it without thinking for 7, 8, 10, whatever hours. Then I defeated the enemy. And then, as a just habit, save it again. I see 11 in there, and not even a tiny bit of joy left. Joy is gone, along with 11 hours. Such a guilt, such a horrible feeling, because nothing is left to me. Even joy is gone. So I am in a more disadvantaged position because I know how nice it was, and now I know it's not sustainable. So it makes you feel so awkward. My only hope is that I will live longer and find better games to play to enjoy. Because after some point, I'm going to get bored with playing the same game. So the more I enjoy, the more I get doomed. So it gets into this vicious cycle and the life becomes so annoying and everything. So the only hope is that I'm going to live long enough and I'm going to find better joys. And with that hope, I can keep somewhat enjoying. Otherwise, death is always there. It's always torturing me. So it's not only the ultimate death that comes, but this heedlessness is humans, or forgetfulness or heedlessness is, with which we think that we enjoy.
So dissatisfaction, I agree. Like if we only talk about that and ties every argument, or forget about the arguments even, like let's don't take them as whether he's right or wrong. Let's take it as how we feel about our lives. I can try to forget about death, and sometimes I'm successful. There's no denial there. Sometimes for years, I remember like yesterday, there were times that I was so sure, and I'm not kidding. Like this is, I don't know, me. Maybe it's same with you as well. I was sure that there was no end to my life. Meaning, I will not die. I had this feeling. I remember these days. So it is possible, empirically speaking, it is possible that we can forget about death. But this forgetfulness, does it solve my dissatisfaction? Does it satisfy me? I guess that's the question. Because even if I forget about death, and if I think that I'm so young and I have a long life to live, if every moment I have another reason to regret my life, oh, I should have done this way, but I haven't. I could have done this way, but I couldn't. If this is always there with me, then I guess there's no, like this forgetfulness doesn't help me with my dissatisfaction. And with me, it is always there. And every day, every moment, I have to find an excuse. I have to find a exit road to forget about my dissatisfaction. I say, today I will learn about this. Who cares about this? Doesn't matter. It's like getting drunk. Today I will make another publication. Why? Of course I will find an excuse. Today I will walk to my work instead of driving. I will always, I will go to gym. I will go to that. I will always try to find something to increase this forgetfulness, let's say. Because you have to be so forgetful that your mind doesn't, doesn't work anymore. It's like, you're trying to forget something, you get drunk. If you are just a little drunk, it doesn't help. You start crying. I mean, you wouldn't know it from experience. I wouldn't know it from experience. Just the movies, right? You start crying. You keep remembering the thing. It becomes even more intense. So you have to get more and more drunk until your mind stops, working. So this is what we try to do usually with our lives. So when we say with my day-to-day life, I find some roads, I find some escape paths, and I'm happy, I would, ask, at least to myself, like, are you still, with your dissatisfaction or not?
Actually, if you ask this question to Zainab, since she cannot speak English, I will translate what she would say. So for the past week, as the sun is setting, she is complaining in a crying voice, the sun shouldn't set. I don't want to sleep.
I don't love those who said.
Yeah, and this is a very innocent, without any sophisticated intellectual or anything. This is very honest human complaint. Because another day finishes, she couldn't play enough. She wants to play more, enjoy more, and the sun is setting. And as we try to put her to sleep at night, she says, "No, I don't want to sleep. I want to play more." And this is us, like this is human. And another day finishes with lack of satisfaction. And she doesn't know about death. Like literally, she doesn't know about death as we know about death, like 60 or 70 years. No notion of death in her life, officially. Yet death is there, and she is very upset about death. For her, death is sunset, or going to bed is death for her. And she's not happy with that.
Or all these, funny people leaving our house and Bushra staying alone.
Yeah. So
I agree. Like, I think one way or another, there's no escape from that one thing. When we, achieve to forget about it, there will be all other, let's say, the reminders that shows themselves as different type of dissatisfactions. And we have to forget about them as well. We will try to, keep forgetting and forgetting and forgetting. So that's one thing. Another thing, so even searching for meaning, now I'm looking at this direction because, we have a representative of searching for meaning, the trend.
for meaning in the wrong place?
No. I didn't mean that. No. She was talking about people everywhere searching for meaning, which is true. I agree with her. This is me today, like putting people on spot. But anyway, so we do search for meaning, especially, I guess, in this age, when we realize that our preconceptions about the human being, life, and so on collapse. Everybody would say the same thing, right? Our previous definitions about ourselves, our life, the universe, everything collapsed. It doesn't work anymore. For a moment, as you said, like if we take the story of the human as just one human being, the entire humanity, for a moment, we were happy to assume that the life is so mechanic, the universe is like a clockwork orange, and everything ticking and ticking, there's nothing more. But now we realize that it doesn't work that way. We have this so-called spirituality and so on and so forth. So I guess searching for meaning is always there in our life every day. Like you would do something not just to satisfy yourself in the moment. You will do something for something else coming after it. Every action you do, my claim is that I can find the reason behind the action, beyond the action, sorry. Like you will learn something to gain more wealth or to get another job. You will study hard. Yes, studying hard maybe is fun, but you would do it for other purpose. So every moment you walk on the street, you will think about how you satisfy your husband or your wife. And there's always a purpose there with your actions. So I think there's no discussion that the people are looking for meaning beyond the immediate action that we experience. Because the spirit in us tells us that there's beyond that. There's something beyond that. There must be something beyond that. You are a human being. You are supposed to develop progress. And you cannot help. It has to be there. It has to happen. There's urge in you to progress. And if you try to contain yourself within the current limits, current definitions of the things, it will fail. And this is what I understand from this text. Everything in your life tells you that there is a progression, development, temalat, perfection. And hereafter is like inevitable, the target, or what is it? The end fruit of this perfection. You just need to follow the flow. As Joker would say, all you need is a little push. Right? And then the rest will follow, because your humanity will take you there. Just realize that you are a human being. There's this progression, there's this urge in you, just little push, and gravity will take care of the rest. And you will find yourself facing with hereafter and resurrection. Oh, we are out of time. I apologize. Let's finish with beautiful words of Yusuf, inshallah.
Are we going to come back to 10th, or we will continue with the 11th next week?
Oh, we will probably continue with the 11th, so let's have your final remarks.
So there was a nice footnote. I just want to attract your attention to that footnote. In the footnotes, author was talking about justice, because he's making an argument about justice and saying that we observe justice in here, and if there's no afterlife, then the one who is manifesting himself must be a tyrant. So for this point, we really need to observe justice, but do we observe justice? And in the footnote, he said justice is of two types. The first type was positive, affirmative. The other one was negative. And for positive, he says, giving the due to the one who deserves. This is the first type of justice. And the second type is punishing the ones who deserve punishment. This was new for me when I first read it, because when we talk about justice, it sounds like as if punishing someone. And this is why we complain about, oh, the world is unjust and whatnot. So somebody does something bad and they're not getting punished. But the author says there's two types of justice, and the first part is being done to its complete sense. Like everybody is given their due. So like you have a lung and your lungs are being given oxygen. Like you have this need for, let's say, livelihood, you are being provided with livelihood. You have a stomach, your stomach needs food, food is being provided. Sun is in need of light, heat, sun is being given light and heat. So in this sense, the whole existence is showing that they are being given what is their due. And they are being given, it's not like they are given once. A lion is born as a lion and it keeps being a lion throughout its life. It doesn't start behaving like a bird after some point. So this is being done. And he says for the other half, it is also being manifested but then something is being missing in there, which then becomes a proof of afterlife, saying that this is going to be completed eventually. So this description of justice was important, and so that it shouldn't get unnoticed.
It is also very, elegant that the justice is about the being complete as well, right? If something missing, we would call it as unjust. So this missing part in the negative type of justice, it points to, it's an argument for the hereafter because there is justice that we observe in the reality. It's really, very recursive, but it's very elegant. Okay, let's finish here, inshallah. Again, apologies for going over time, maybe. So, سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ودعوانا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.